श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से बोल श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव गौर भक्त श्री राधा गोपी जन वल्लभ गोविंद श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर नवदीप धाम की पुरुषोत्तम श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई की जमुना माई की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी महारानी की समेत भक्तवृंद की ताय गौर हरि all questionable devotees, all questionable devotees, all questionable devotees, all glories, all glories, Shri Guru and Gaurang Jat Guru Sri Prabhupada teacher.
It's on live
YouTube.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted that voice.
Okay. I'll just do the prayers first. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagan Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakanitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhan Siddhi Pranamami Hari Vancha Kalpatarubhesya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadhyavati Gaur Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripadam Mandir Shri Gurum Karanam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram.
Sound is not coming properly.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have to increase your laptop sound.
One second. One second. What is
YouTube. Maybe from Zoom or Harichakra we can put it on Facebook Live, but I don't know. But we are putting it on YouTube and
yeah, I don't know what to do, bro, because
okay,
my
it's okay, bro.
yeah. Okay. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. I offer my respectful obeisances to all the devotees of the Lord, who are just like desideries, full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Might as well say it. Vancha kalpatarubhesya kripasindhu patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Jai Shri Radha Gopi Jana Vallabh Vidyapadavan Gauri Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada. So yes, today morning while I was chanting japa, I was remembering yesterday I was reading actually. Nowadays I'm having a good fortune of reading Chitraketu Maharaj's lamentation. So Chitraketu Maharaj, after he lost his son, close it up. And after he lost his child, whose name was Harsha Shoka, then soon after he was in very, very deep lamentation. And in that condition, when he was lamenting very bitterly, then Narad Muni and Angira Muni both came. And they both came. And Chitraketu Maharaj said that exact words. Chitraketu Maharaj said, I am just like a pig, just like a dog. His actual words are there in Bhagavatam. And only by the mercy of great exalted personalities like you is it possible for me to come out of this ignorance. So he spent some verses glorifying them and speaking like this. So I was thinking in myself that why I don't feel like this. Why shouldn't I feel like this? Uh, because I was thinking that this is a prerequisite to receiving transcendental knowledge from any saintly person, that one should feel so lowly. Like that's why in that Gurudev Kripa Bandhu Diya, that song, the first prayer Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes is, he says, "Dear Gurudev, please make me uh, humbler than Trinapeka Atihina. Uh, Make me, give me your mercy so that I will become just like a speck of dust at your lotus feet. I will become so humble, very humble, like a blade of grass or a speck of dust, you can say. So, unless that very intense humility is there, one cannot receive transcendental knowledge. So now we'll go to the shloka. I'll just quickly read through. So I beg for the blessings of all the devotees so that I can please Guru and Krishna by speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Kushakasham Mayam Barhir.
322.
Yeah. Kushakashamayam Barhir. Kushakashamayam Barhir.
Kushakasam Mahirmani.
Astirya Bhagavan Manu.
Astirya Bhagavan Manu.
Ayajad Yagya Purusham.
Purusham.
Labdha Sthanam Yato Bhuvam.
Yato Bhuvam.
So I'll just read through, it's late. Kusha or Kusha grass, Kasha, and of Kasha grass, Mayam, made, Barhi, a seed, Astirya, having spread, Bhagavan, the greatly fortunate, Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, Ayajat, worshipped, Yagya Purusham, Lord Vishnu, Labdha, had achieved, Sthanam, the abode, Yataha, from whom, Bhuvam, the earth. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Manu spread a seed of Kushas and Kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Manu is the father of mankind, and therefore from Manu comes the word Man, or in Sanskrit Manushya. Those who are in a better position in the world, having sufficient wealth, should especially take lessons from Manu, who acknowledged his kingdom and opulence to be gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus always engaged in devotional service. Similarly, the descendants of Manu are human beings, especially those who are situated in a well-to-do condition, must consider that whatever riches they have are gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those riches should be utilized for the service of the Lord in sacrifices performed to please Him. That is the way of utilizing wealth and opulence. No one can achieve wealth, opulence, good birth, a beautiful body, or nice education without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, those who are in possession of such valuable facilities must acknowledge their gratefulness to the Lord by worshipping Him and offering what they have received from Him. When such acknowledgement is given, either by a family, nation, or society, their abode becomes almost like Vaikuntha, and it becomes free from the operation of the threefold miseries of this material world. In the modern age, the mission of Krishna consciousness is for everyone to acknowledge the supremacy of Lord Krishna. Whatever one has in his possession must be considered a gift by the grace of the Lord. Therefore, everyone should engage in devotional service through Krishna consciousness. If one wants to be happy and peaceful in his position, either as a householder or citizen or member of human society, one must promote devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord. Prabhuji. We have to change the water. The water is not changed. He will leave. Before he leaves, you change the water. Or you can tell him to change the water. You can just change water. Rest all will do. Yeah. Sorry. So, very important verse, and again begging the prayers and blessings of everyone. Yesterday was a very amazing class. His Grace Yoga Prabhu gave Chaitanya Bhagavat. I had the good fortune of listening to the whole class, and in that class, uh, Prabhuji was mentioning that how just by the prayers of all the Vaishnavas, such heartful prayers all the Vaishnavas offered, as a result of that, Jagai and Madai, uh, they lost the desire to sin. And if you lose the desire to sin, the propensity to sin is gone. That means there's no question for Dhanam, Janam, and Sundari, because ultimately everything is coming from sin. So, desire to sin or do something which is grossly or subtly wrong. But if you don't have such desires, then definitely it becomes very easy to attain pure devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So I pray to beg all the devotees so that they can bless me or pray for me in such a way that I lose the desire uh, for any activity which is opposing Krishna consciousness or opposing the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. So this is a quote by, this is actually part of the purport, I'm just reading it. When such acknowledgement is given either by a family, nation, or society, their abode becomes almost like Vaikuntha, and it becomes free from the operation of the threefold miseries of this material world. So it's a very powerful statement by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, saying that when a family together acknowledges the presence of the Supreme Lord, or that everything is given by the Lord, then the home becomes like Vaikuntha and the threefold miseries don't exist. So it's a very powerful statement. Wow. Would we all would love to be in such a place where it's free from the threefold miseries? So yeah, it's, I know many of you are living in such homes. This is another quote actually. It's a very powerful quote from sixth canto Bhagavatam, 14th chapter. I forgot the verse number, but it's a very powerful statement by Srila Prabhupada. When I read it, my heart moved. Subtle laws of karma, which are controlled by the Supreme, cannot be understood by ordinary conditioned souls. Therefore, Krishna says that one who can understand him and how he is acting, controlling everything by certain laws, immediately becomes freed. So this is very, very powerful. Wow, just by understanding, you become freed. Yeah, that's how powerful is Krishna consciousness. That's why it's a consciousness. When you have the right consciousness, everything supports, everything opens up. So to acknowledge the gifts of the Lord, Srila Prabhupada says three things, or I will say four things: how Krishna is the maintainer, how Krishna is the controller, how Krishna is the enjoyer, and how Krishna is a supreme friend. So Prabhupada says maintainer, controller, enjoyer, but in other lectures, Prabhupada also speaks about how Krishna is a supreme friend also. So when one realizes these things, then one receives the mercy of the Lord by becoming free from Maya. So acknowledgement, we say like to be grateful is devotional service, gratitude is devotional service. But when gratitude is only gratitude, but there is no activity, then it's passive. It's almost like the Shanta Rasa. Not even Shanta, actually, even the Shanta Rasa associates, like even the trees, the plants, they serve Krishna. But when you are just in a mode of just I am grateful, I am grateful, thank you, thank you. So unless that is expressed, that gratitude or thank you has no value. Like many times I thought that if someone comes and tells you thank you very much, thank you very much, okay, you'll feel good. After some time, you may get a little bored of it. In this world, especially, thank you is so common. But what will really please you, or should not say please, what will really make you happy is if whatever you're working for, the mission you are working for, if someone dedicates themselves to the mission you are working for, then you will become so happy. Like Srila Prabhupada, many people went to Prabhupada and said, I'm very grateful, I'm amazing mission. But those who actually pleased Prabhupada were those who actually dedicate dedicated themselves fully to his mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. So I I really value the great exemplary lives of all the Prabhupada disciples, those who are in great standing, because their whole life is an offering to Srila Prabhupada. Like His Holiness Ranat Maharaj says in this Vyas Puja offering, I think this year or last year, I think it's this year. So, dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my life. That's the first. So I was thinking that I can never make that statement because my life is not an offering to Prabhupada. My life is not an offering to Guru because I have so many times, spaces in my life when I'm not serious. I'm not fully dedicated to Krishna consciousness. Um, So this is a very powerful statement, and only someone whose every moment is fully mind, body, and words given to Guru and Krishna can make such a statement. Otherwise, how can make such a statement? It's a very high statement. Very only pure devotees, Mahabhagavad devotees, those who are fully free from material desires, can make such statements. Uh, because the difference between great devotees and those who are not on that platform is great devotees, whatever they say, they follow. So that's why whatever great devotees say, we should know for a fact that the pure devotees say they are following it. So that should that will naturally make us extremely inspired by the statements of pure devotees. And that's why the statements of pure devotees are so powerful. They're so powerful that they immediately dissipate the ignorance and they give transcendental realization to anyone. Like one time, one devotee was telling me, I won't say the name of the devotee. So one devotee said that this other devotee that he cultivated or he preached to, or etc. etc. He treated him in a particular way which was not so nice. Basically, he ignored him, like he left him, like he was cultivating him, and after some time he just disconnected. So this devotee was sharing that how he was feeling bad that devotee, even though he put so much effort, he completely disconnected. So that day I actually heard one quote from a revered spiritual master. So someone asked a question about how in our movement exploitation is wrong, exploitation is not appropriate. So my spiritual master was mentioning that different levels of bhakti. One level of bhakti is, yes, I mean, if you're on the lower platform, then if you feel disturbed, then you should do something about it. You should act according to your advancement. But then he said, if on a higher platform of devotional service, you'll realize that ultimately you've surrendered to Krishna. Everyone is an instrument of Krishna, Krishna's will. So ultimately, if you are being exploited by devotees, then you can just see that Krishna is using that devotee to do this to you. So you should just accept it in that spirit without any complaint. He said a more advanced devotee can have this kind of mentality. So when I presented this to this devotee, immediately he was completely pacified. He's like, wow, I'm completely pacified. So He was saying that he had that grudge or that disturbance for so long, but as soon as I quoted this, immediately his mind was completely pacified. So this is the power of the word of those who are pure, is that they follow what they speak, and as a result of that, whatever they speak has life. It's not dead. So um, real gratitude, real acknowledgement is actually sacrifice. So, two things. One thing is Krishna sees with what intensity we are serving. Krishna is not just seeing how much we are doing, with what intensity we're like. The example is there that there's a squirrel in Ramayana, this pastime everyone must be knowing, that this squirrel was just emptying some sand, as a squirrel or a crab or any small animal. And on the other hand, Hanuman was lifting huge, huge boulders and rocks, etc., for building the bridge. So that time, Hanuman told the squirrel that, well, see, if you please, move to the side little bit, because you see, I'm carrying huge, huge boulders and you're just emptying small, small sand. So whatever service I'm doing is very important because I'm building the bridge. So when Hanuman presented like that, Lord Ramchandra heard what Hanuman was saying. So then Lord Ramchandra said that we should not think, he was telling Hanuman, we should not think that the squirrel's contribution is any less than your contribution. Sorry, yeah. And Lord Ramchandra said that I'm equally pleased with the squirrel's effort, just as much as I'm pleased with your effort. So Krishna sees what intensity we're serving, not how much we're doing. Uh, Although we should do as much as possible, but the most important thing is the intensity. Just like another example, if someone has maybe $20,000 in the bank, I'm not directing this to anyone, I'm just giving an example. So if he gives, say, $100 as a donation to Krishna, versus someone who just has maybe $5 and he gives $2. So the amount, if you compare 102, there's no comparison. But because the person who has $5 is giving like 40% of his income to the Lord, therefore it is more dear because he's sacrificing more, although it's the amount is less. And the second thing is Krishna does not see what we're keeping, but Krishna does not see what we have given, but what we are keeping, what we are keeping for ourselves. So there are actually, His Grace Amarendra Prabhu mentioned very nicely that there are 6 levels of surrender to Krishna. He quotes Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Somehow this is very short clip in YouTube. So he said there are 6 levels. So the first level is time, giving time. Second is giving our ears, Shravana. Third is devoting our tongue, Kirtanam and Krishna Prasad. Then the fourth level is devoting our mind. The fifth level is giving our heart. And the last level is giving thought, word, and deed. So that's where we can start. Are we giving all our time to Krishna? Are we giving how much of our years are we giving to Krishna? How much are we able to chant the holy name? How much are we able to think of Krishna? And eventually, how much we're able to give our heart, and was the last level is very high. The last level is thought, word, and deed. So 6 levels of surrender or 6 levels of offering our life to Krishna. This is given by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. So, and the next point, very important point, is that we are part of a preaching movement. So, acknowledging the gifts of Krishna means sharing it with others in a humble mood. So, we all understand, or at least I understand, I can say for myself, that I am not sharing Krishna consciousness necessarily because I can benefit others personally, but I am sharing Krishna consciousness The main aim is to please the Lord. The main aim is to please Krishna. So when we share Krishna consciousness in a humble mood, what does humble mood mean? It means when others misbehave or behave inappropriately, then we tolerate it. Uh, and especially it applies to situations where we share Krishna consciousness with people, even those people who may have mistreated us or may not have treated us in the most nice way, and also sacrificing our being in the center so that others can benefit. Like for example, if you know that some devotee is more advanced than you, you know that, and you know that the person you're preaching to will benefit by taking the association of that more advanced devotee, then um, you continue helping that devotee, you continue serving that devotee in his Krishna consciousness, but also you encourage that devotee, you give the opportunity for that devotee to hear from more exalted souls. And that way, what you're doing is you're actually giving up your desire to be the center, that, oh, this person should become devotee only through me or should only hear from me. Because ultimately, Krishna is the controller. If Krishna wants someone to be with you, so Krishna wants to give you the service of serving someone, Krishna will. If Krishna thinks otherwise, it will happen otherwise. So instead of Krishna having to take it away forcibly, better to renounce. Renounce does not mean give up the service, but mm, try to take yourself out of the center and give uh, more advanced devotees also the chance to influence this great soul. We can learn this from pure devotees. Like pure devotees, they never control, they never say, oh, why are you not surrendering to me? Why are you not doing this? You see, pure devotees, they are so renounced. They are so renounced. Although they discipline the devotees for the sake of their benefit, but they never control. They never restrict that, oh, you can only take shiksha from me. You can only hear from me. Never hear purity because they are far beyond that platform. Uh, They are directly in relation with Krishna, and they don't want persons to develop love for them. They want persons to develop love for Krishna. So their heart is so pure, the desire is so pure. Neither they have the desire to control anyone, nor are they disturbed when devotees take instruction or guidance or shelter of other exalted devotees. So this is very, very important. This is very important. Like, see, to a devotee's spiritual advancement, different people will contribute to different levels. Like a pure devotee will contribute the most because he can inspire other conditioned souls to love Krishna the most because he has the most intimate connection with Krishna. And others, for example, some people may just be giving him prasad, some people may just be giving some classes, some others may just be friends, etc., etc. So different people contribute to different levels to a devotee's life. So everyone has to do whatever they can for that soul. So everything counts. Ultimately, everything counts. Why does it count? Because it helps us to come closer to Krishna. It helps us to come closer to Krishna's mercy. And ultimately, what do we want out of the whole affair of sharing Krishna consciousness? We want to please Krishna. Like, since Prabhupada says so nicely, Prabhupada said, what is preaching? Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was personally speaking about his own mood while preaching. Prabhupada said, oh, my Krishna is so nice. So, since my Krishna is so nice, won't I want to tell others about him? So, that is Prabhupada's mood of preaching Krishna consciousness, is just to glorify Krishna. Just because a devotee has so much attraction for Krishna and he is receiving so much affection and mercy from Krishna, he simply wants to share that with others. That is the mood of exalted souls, that they, when they're speaking, when they're sharing Krishna consciousness, their desire is to simply please Krishna. And as a result of that desire to please Krishna, that Krishna reciprocates uh, to them and to those that they are sharing Krishna consciousness with by filling their hearts with happiness, filling their hearts with divine love. So, this is, of course, I'm not qualified, but this is Prabhupada's words. And that's why the real preacher, Prabhupada says, only pure devotees can really preach. So that doesn't mean others shouldn't preach, but what it really means is that everyone else should support the pure devotee his preaching. Now I want to read something about the mind, because we all agree that for conditioned souls, at least for me, the main cause of all problems is the mind. So the other day I was reading again something from that chapter, Chitraketu's lamentation, and the next chapter about Angira Muni and Narad Muni's discussion with Chitraketu. This is very, very powerful. When I heard this, it was mind blowing. This is Prabhupada's words in the purport. Similarly, the material world is a creation of our mental concoctions. We have come to this material world to enjoy material resources, and by mental concoction, we discover many, many objects of enjoyment because our minds are absorbed in material things. So, the material world is simply a result of our mental concoctions. Isn't this so powerful? Like, mind has desires. I desire this, I desire that. I fulfill those desires. That is a material world. That is a material objects. As simple as that. And then Prabhupada says something even more amazing, that suppose in the mind you develop a desire, I want a car. So then you buy a very nice Mercedes Benz or BMW or Rolls Royce. Then when the car is damaged in a collision, your mind becomes affected. Oh. So Prabhupada said that when we fulfill those desires and they are successful, it creates attachment. And after we are attached, then by the illusory energy of the Lord, that attachment will be broken, and then we go through pain. We go through pain, and through the pain, we suffer. So that's why the mind, Avanti Brahmana says, the mind is a reflection of the material world. So this mind is not good. That's why there's a very wonderful bhajan by Bhakti Thakur, Dushtaman, Dushtaman, Tumi Kishore Vaishnav. It's a very wonderful bhajan, and Prabhupada himself has sung that bhajan, very amazing. And you can all read that bhajan. It's such amazing realization by Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. So that's why the goal of Krishna consciousness should be to never leave the mind free. We should not leave the mind until it is trained up to serve Krishna 24 hours a day. So there are a number of things that two main things Prabhupada describes for overcoming the mind. The first thing is hearing. Is where Shamanashu yesterday was saying that how Shravana Dasha is so important. So hearing, keep hearing until, of course, with the desire to apply what you're hearing. Never stop hearing. And as soon as the mind is free from spiritual subject matter, as soon as the mind stops contemplating on spiritual subject matter, then immediately the mind will desire sense gratification. And that's the nature of the mind. And as a result of the desire for sense gratification, all the three kleshas will come in the heart. So hearing from pure devotees is an absolute necessity. What is our connection with our Guru in ISKCON? What is our connection? We don't live in a society where we live with our Guru, or we live, I mean, some devotees are fortunate, they live in Chowpatty, they live in certain places where the spiritual master is regularly present, and they see the spiritual master's dealings, again, to a very limited extent. But so the main thing in our society is shiksha. And how is that shiksha? Through hearing. That's our only hope. So if we don't hear, what is our connection with Guru? If we don't hear Guru, if we don't hear Prabhupada, definitely they'll become irrelevant in our life. Even though we are coming, worshipping Prabhupada, we're bowing down to Guru, just very mechanical. If someone asks us, what did your Guru contribute to you in your life? So we cannot see anything tangible unless we are hearing regularly. When we hear, we contemplate how to apply and we apply, then yeah, we are grateful. Uh, we are practically, we actually receive their association, receive their mercy. So that's why hearing is the only way. So that's why the beginning of Shravana Dasha is uh, unsystematic hearing. But to be firmly established in Shravana Dasha, the more mature is to hear systematically. Systematic hearing. Like that's why we have Bhagavatam classes, we have Charitamrita classes. So go canto by canto, verse by verse. Hear systematically, read systematically. Don't jump the page. Read and study systematically, and that way we can make advancements systematically. Because ultimately our goal is to meditate on Krishna, is to think of Krishna. But in order to think of Krishna, we need a very solid base. We need a very solid digestion of tattva, understanding, realization of tattva. So unless we study systematically, we will not get there. That's why Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, uh, Siddhanta kara e, sorry, I can't remember the exact, na kare alas. He is telling all the readers that don't become lazy to understand Siddhanta. Uh, because without understanding Siddhanta, you cannot please Krishna. Of course, this is practical understanding, not theoretical. But by understanding Siddhanta in a practical, real way, in a dynamic way, how Siddhanta works, how the modes of material nature practically work in the material world, why Krishna is enjoyer, why Krishna is a maintainer. Unless these things are deeply ingrained in the heart, we don't have the qualification to actually uh, relish Krishna's pastimes, because the goal of life is to relish. The goal of life. Unless we relish Krishna's sweetness, pastimes, uh, we cannot give up this material world. We cannot give up these material desires. So relishment is the key. Those who relish, they have the opportunity, they have the hope of renouncing this material world. Otherwise, it's impossible. And the second thing, which is extremely important, is association with devotees. And association with devotees in such a way that we want to be inspired by them. That kind of association. Not passive, not negative, but with a desire to be inspired by them. So it's very important to be inspired by devotees. And that's why by Prabhupada's infinite mercy, we have so many exalted devotees. Like we are so fortunate, His Grace Shivangsha Prabhu is giving such realized katha, such deep katha, which is imbued with uh, bhakti shakti. So when we hear from exalted devotees, those are very serious, very sincere, then that really helps us to control our mind. Because to control the mind, to keep the mind peaceful, we have to be satisfied in our heart. So that's why Prabhupada says sadhu sangha is super important. It's super, super important. And real sadhu sangha means hearing, 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 hearing. Hearing from them in person, not on Zoom, not on internet, but hearing in person. Because when you're associating with someone who you're trying to serve, you're trying to please, when you hear from that person, especially in person, you feel the effect of that person's subtle body, because everyone's subtle body, according to the level of Krishna consciousness, radiates a kind of consciousness, radiates a kind of Krishna consciousness. So that enters our heart and makes us feel good, makes us feel happy in Krishna consciousness, makes us feel happy in glorifying Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes. So that is extremely important, extremely important. So these two things, hearing from the self-realized souls, and associating with devotees, physically, practically, associating with devotees, and of course mentally also. But physical association is also very, very important, especially in the initial stages of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, many times speaking about myself, bhakti is just in mode of ignorance. What is mode of ignorance? Means there's no intensity in bhakti. Bhakti in the mode of ignorance means that the mind is not focused on what you're doing. Like you're chanting the holy name, you're serving the deities, and you're like, what I'm going to do next. So you're not able to draw power from the present activity. Why? Because of ignorance, because of laziness. One type of laziness is external, but there's also internal laziness. Internal laziness means what? You're not inspired, you're not taking it seriously. Even though you're there, your body is there, but your mind is not fully present. And as a result of that, you're not able to draw the inspiration from that activity. So it's so important. And only by doing all these things, so acknowledging Krishna's presence in our life is not so easy. It's not so cheap. Because you see, what is the result of acknowledging Krishna's presence? You become free from the three tapas. Isn't that really far out? Really far out, almost like beyond mind. So this is a potency of Prabhupada's movement, and we are so fortunate to come in contact with such a personality as Srila Prabhupada. We have such astounding Bhaktivedanta purports and such wonderful books given by our previous acharyas. So we should take advantage of the association of the punchline. The association with devotees is the main gift of Srila Prabhupada. We have to take association of, we have to take advantage of that and advantage of Prabhupada's books. We have to study Prabhupada books, not just read, but study them, make notes out of them, meditate, and try to apply in our life. This is really, really important. So many astounding details are given in Srila Prabhupada's books. Unless we take the trouble to study systematically, we will not, we will keep missing, we'll keep missing, we'll keep missing. So on this note, I will end. Sorry, we started late today. Does anyone have any question or comment?
Yes, Prabhuji. You said something related to what is far out or astounding. I missed that. You just stated that, right? It's so far out or...
I said that like in Prabhupada's books, in the purports, if someone studies them very deeply, you'll find so many astounding, you can say far out details about Krishna consciousness, which are given by Srila Prabhupada in order to attain success. And this is to be applied on the platform of consciousness. It's very subtle things, very subtle. So if one studies Prabhupada's purports and takes each verse translation, breaks it apart and sees, then you see so many jewels are there in Prabhupada's purports.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Wonderful class, as always. Hare Krishna. Dandavad.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, is mind and consciousness are same?
Not exactly. So mind, intelligence, and ego. So the consciousness is actually the main symptom of the soul. So the main purpose of the mind is to bring the consciousness. Yeah, you can say in one sense, but the main thing is the consciousness.
When you say when you say consciousness is contaminated, is mind is contaminated too, or I'm trying to...
Yes, mind is also contaminated. If you say consciousness contaminated, yeah, definitely mind is also.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in the beginning of the class, you were mentioning some purport by Srila Prabhupada in the 6th canto, the internet. Prabhuji, can you please give reference to that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Just give me like 1-2 minutes. Yeah.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Anyone else has any question or comment?
Those 6 levels of surrender,
Hmm.
for example, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there's a clip on YouTube. Can you also share that in the group?
Yeah, I cannot share. I'll try to share. I'll show you later.
Okay. So you said time, year, the 6 heart, or deed and thought.
Yeah, time. First is time, then ear, then tongue, then mind, then heart, then ultimately thought, word, and deed.
What is the last one? You said no, word, deed, and thoughts.
Yeah, Mataji, I think I'll share that with you on WhatsApp. It's taking me a little time to find that.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful classes.
Okay, so nobody has any question or comment. We'll end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnava ananta koti vaishnava jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Dandavat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.